So who is the biggest winner of the whole offseason?
Caleb Williams is your biggest winner of the entire offseason. He gets maybe the brightest offensive mind in all of football in Ben Johnson as his head coach. New guard, center guard combo. And then in the draft, they go get Loveland, who could separate like he's a wide receiver.
Dominique, the biggest loser of this offseason in your mind is who?
Yeah, I'd say Kirk Cousins, because particularly coming out of the draft, we were expecting there to be one team at least that was in desperate need of a quarterback, and Kirk would be able to control his destiny, but it doesn't seem to be the case, and he's going to continue to wait until there's an injury or something like that. But then I looked at his contract number. He's got 2 years and $100 million still on his contract, so maybe he's the biggest winner. Man got $100 million and he don't got to work. Congratulations, Kirk Cousins. You just went from loser to winner in my book.
Fair enough. Okay. And then Tim Hasselbeck, I'm going to ask you to fill in a blank for me here. The Steelers gambling, it seems, everything on Aaron Rodgers is what?
It's risky, Greeny. I mean, look, the reality is, look, they're hoping that Aaron Rodgers is going to choose them back because they waited till the 6th round to draft a quarterback. They had opportunities, to draft prospects that probably seem more ready than Will Howard. Mason Rudolph, I can't imagine is the plan to go into the opener as a starter. So, I think it's risky, and that might even be a mild way of putting it.
So, Peter, help me. Yeah. I mean, there has to be. The Steelers are too good an organization to have everything as up in the air as it feels like right now. What is going on there?
Steelers are a good organization, but I don't think there is some handshake deal with Rodgers. I honestly believe Rodgers, and from what I'm told, talked to the Giants and the Steelers, and they looked at the Giants and said, hey, look, I have no timetable. I've got things going on in my personal life. If you have to move on, I totally get it. They did. They signed Jameis. They signed Russell. They got drafted a quarterback. He said the same exact stuff with the Steelers after working out with DK Metcalf, after going there and meeting with Tomlin and Arthur Smith. And they said, okay, we'll wait. They've put themselves in a corner here, but it is still only the end of April. And as I look at Rodgers throwing to Metcalf, I can't think that was all for naught. I can't think that was just, hey, of all the players, let me just throw to Metcalf this weekend
right.
in L.A.
Right.
They don't know if he's coming back yet. This might end up being like Ed Werder down in Hattiesburg waiting on Favre's ranch. I remember that. Yeah. I was there for all of it.
Yeah.
But I do believe they're holding out hope. And the exit strategy you mentioned, and Dominique did it well, like Kirk Cousins, I'm sure there could be a deal to be had with Kirk Cousins if it ends up going that way.
Let's go back to Rodgers, though, Tim. Of all the things I saw in our notes last night, what you said about him I thought was my single favorite thing.
Look, the reality is, and Pete referenced Favre. Look, when Favre would throw in the offseason at 40 years old, you knew he was playing. When he stopped, he was done. Like 40-year-old quarterbacks don't throw in the offseason if they're not planning on playing football. It's just the reality of it. Look, I'm not the caliber of players we're talking about, but the same thing happened to me. You know why? Like, it hurts. Like, you don't do it anymore. Like, there aren't guys like Tom Brady. Like, you go like he's not throwing to guys right now. Like, when you're done, you're done. You don't throw in March, April, May if you're done playing football. Like, you don't do it anymore. And so I think the idea that, the fact that Rodgers did it, I think is a massive signal to what his plans are. You don't put cleats on. You don't drop back and throw if you're not planning on playing football at 40 plus years old.
Nick.
Yeah, I think we're so focused on will he or won't he, we haven't really talked much about how good will he be when he comes back. So it's funny to think of this as like the end-all be-all, and this is going to solve all the problems for the Steelers. We're assuming that he's going to come back and be some version of his all-pro self. That's not what we saw most recently from Aaron Rodgers. So they're still in a bad spot, even if they get Aaron Rodgers back. There's no guarantee that this team is going to be much better than they were last year.
Did you nod along at the Kirk? You said the Kirk Cousins thing. Like, is that?
Yeah.
I keep thinking.
Look. You look at the connections here. Raheem Morris and Mike Tomlin are best of pals. Arthur Smith was in Atlanta for years. It's an easy one. It's not in the division. It's not in the conference. If Kirk Cousins is going to make it, Steelers could say, we'll pay all of that stuff. Or at least you take some of it, and we'll get him off your hands.
They have a break glass option
I would think.
in this. So is that an overreaction?
I say yes. I still think there are ways this could turn out where he gets what he wants and gets an opportunity to go somewhere else and be a starter. But right now, there doesn't seem to be an obvious landing spot for him. Somebody gets hurt in the offseason, which often happens, unfortunately. Aaron Rodgers turns the Steelers down. I mean, there are things that could open up, but right now, Cousins at this point projects to be the backup to Michael Penix Jr., and I don't think anybody's thrilled about that.
Well, you mentioned the Steelers. So if someone were to say the Steelers made a mistake not drafting a quarterback before the 6th round, is that an overreaction?
I say it's an overreaction. I think they felt like this group of quarterbacks didn't offer them a transformative player. They need to get this question answered for the long term. If Aaron Rodgers is coming, and they are still optimistic that he will, then they wouldn't want to take somebody that would cause an issue with him. So next year's quarterback draft is thought to be probably better. And I think the Steelers know that if they can patch it together with an Aaron Rodgers this year, they might be in a position to land somebody who has a better chance to be their long-term answer next year.
Did the Steelers make a mistake this weekend not addressing the quarterback more than they did?
Yes, because you're putting your eggs in Aaron Rodgers' basket, which we know based on his most recent interview, Greeny, with Pat McAfee, he's not sure if he wants to play. So your options get more limited. And then if we're the Steelers and we call up the Atlanta Falcons and say, hey, we want Kirk Cousins, with all that guaranteed money, you're giving them all the leverage. So I was very surprised strategically that the Steelers didn't address the quarterback sooner. Will Howard's an interesting prospect. But again, when you go get DK Metcalf and say, we have a problem scoring, let's go get a point scorer, I am sure they didn't think Mason Rudolph would be their open day quarterback.
Here's the only thing I'll say. The Steelers have come under some uncharacteristic criticism in recent years, and probably some of it is deserved. But the reality is they are an organization that knows what they are doing, right? Bottom line. So the things they have done don't add up. Like they just let Russell Wilson walk away. They let Justin Fields walk away. They seem to have put all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. They had 5 opportunities or whatever it was to draft Shedeur Sanders and didn't do it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I keep coming back to they know what they're doing. They have to have some other plan that I'm not aware of, Peter. What is it?
Look, Rodgers met with them and was very transparent. And Rodgers met with them and the Giants, and Rodgers said to them, I do not have a timetable. I do not know when I'm going to make this decision. If you are uncomfortable with that, you can pivot, and there's no harm done. In fact, the Giants did that and signed 2 different veteran quarterbacks. And Rodgers afterwards said he appreciated Brian Daboll in the meeting that they had, and that Daboll pivoted. The Steelers opted not to. If you ever thought that Aaron Rodgers is on a timeline or has some back handshake deal, I don't think he does. I think the Steelers are banking on the fact that this guy's not done, there are no more seats at the table, and they make the most sense. But I do not think this has been agreed upon yet. It's just they are trusting that he will come eventually.
And or they have some other plan that I just don't know what it is. There's somewhere else they think they can make a trade.
They know there's other options, right? Like all of a sudden it's crowded in Cleveland. It's crowded with the Giants. Like some of these guys, these veterans could still shake loose on a trade market or get
They could get Kenny Pickett back.
Yeah,
but I can't believe
I don't think that's going to happen.
That was a joke, but go ahead.
I don't think the Steelers are going to wait on an AFC North rival to get their quarterback. And again, like all I'm saying, what I find to be inconsistent, Greeny, is if you're going to go get Metcalf and say we have an issue at offense, then go get the quarterback. If not, go trade T.J. Watt.
Would you have felt better if they'd gotten Sam Howell this week?
No, but I would have felt better if they'd taken Shedeur Sanders for sure.
How do we know? I mean, Shedeur Sanders is a 5th-round draft pick.
No,
How do we know
I
he's
know
a
that.
better option for them this year than Mason Rudolph?
No, I don't know that. That's what I mean. I'm trusting that they know more than I do. D. Wood, if you're a player on that team, what are you thinking?
What the hell is going on? Like, I can't even imagine, like, Cam Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, T.J. Watt's like, bro, we're just in a constant spin cycle right now. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. They have no solution at quarterback. You're literally throwing all your eggs in the basket on a guy who has 1 foot in retirement. That is the worst position to be if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. The worst.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
The problem is, and they know this firsthand because of what happened to them 2 years ago with Kenny Pickett. If you take a guy in the 1st round and he's not the guy, that spin cycle just gets even worse.
Right, but
I'm not advocating that they should have just taken Shedeur out. I'm just talking about the totality of their quarterback situation is awful right now.
They could have taken him in the 4th round is the point I'm making. All right, we'll see. Coming up.
Fair enough.
Tiếp tục. Cứ luân phiên từng mũi như thế này là được. Mũi tiếp theo. Đây, cái chân cuối này. Xong rồi, sẽ được một cái chuỗi như thế này nhá. Bây giờ mình sẽ móc cho cái độ rộng của nó tăng lên gấp đôi nha mọi người. Này mình sẽ móc lên. Đây móc 4 mũi bính. Đây móc nối vào đây. Đấy móc tiếp. Cứ lần lượt từng mũi nhé. Đấy mình sẽ móc những mũi tiếp theo vào. Lần lượt cho đến hết. Đấy mình móc vào. Được cái độ rộng gấp đôi rồi đấy. Bây giờ sẽ móc tiếp những mũi tiếp theo nhé. Đây móc vào. Tiếp tục móc. Mũi nữa này. Tiếp tục này. Đấy, mình cứ móc lần lượt như thế này là được nhá, móc hết cái chuỗi này luôn nha. Đây. Mũi tiếp theo. Đấy, móc lần lượt như thế này là được. Tiếp tục nha mọi người. Đấy, móc tiếp nữa. Mình cứ móc lần lượt từng mũi một. Tiếp nha mọi người. Móc nối vào đây. Rồi, mũi tiếp theo. Mũi tiếp. Mũi tiếp theo này. Đấy, cứ lần lượt như thế này nhá. Gỡ thêm một xíu len nữa ra đấy, còn một khúc này thôi. Mình móc thêm vào. Rồi, móc tiếp xuống này. Luân phiên từng mũi. Đấy, như này nhá. Tiếp tục móc nha mọi người. Tiếp nha mọi người. Mũi tiếp theo này. Lần lượt cho đến hết. Tiếp tục móc. Rồi mũi tiếp theo nữa. Cứ móc lần lượt như thế này là được. Mình móc lại mũi này một xíu nhé. Lúc móc thì cố gắng móc cho đều tay là mới đẹp được. Móc lại nha mọi người.